So after I finished with All Might, I was like, who the hell am I going to do next? And I really thought it was only natural to go to the next One For All user, and that would be Izuku Midoriya. So All Might has had years years to develop One For All, his muscles, everything to make it as strong as it is right now. And I really want to check out just where's Deku on that timeline that All Might was on. So one thing I wasn't really sure about was just how much, One For All really multiplies your current strength. I don't know if it's a base thing, if Deku's going to be as powerful as All Might, or if All Might is just as strong as he is because he has enormous muscles. So although, the whole purpose of this video is to find out what Deku's SBD is, I really want to compare it to All Might's too. But let's just get right into it. So the squat. Now, compared to all the other feats of strength that we're going to cover, I think that this is definitely the easiest one to calculate. It's kind of like how in, All Might's video, there's the jumping feat of strength. This is pretty similar. So the feat of strength that we're going to be using here is when Deku jumps insanely high, insanely quickly, and punches a robot by also breaking his legs and one of his arms. So we're going to be using the same formula that we did for All Might. Honestly, we're going to use this formula a lot more during this series, but that is time equals velocity divided by acceleration. So if we look at the video, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds to, get off the ground and for him to power up the jump. So I would say that, time would be about 2 to 3 seconds. And then since, he pretty much just jumps up there pretty much instantly. There's no downtime. It doesn't really show how long it takes for him to get up there. He's just up there. I'll say it's probably about a second. I wouldn't say he instantly travels there. And then we also I don't know how big the skyscrapers are. The robot's towering over the skyscrapers, but I'll just use the average skyscraper size, which would be 247 meters. So we take 247 divided by 2 and get about 123 meters per second squared for the acceleration. So then, now that we have the acceleration, the next thing we'll do is force equals mass times acceleration to find, how much force he's outputting. So now I couldn't exactly find how heavy Deku was. I would say he's probably about 123. Someone found out in Quora that he's about 123, just because that's the average weight for Japanese high schoolers. So that makes it really easy. That's just 123 times 123, which is about 15,129 newtons. Now, just by using Google again, converting that into, pounds of force, that'd be about 3,400 pounds. So since there's no, he uses both of his legs, you could see him squat down. Even though it's slightly more of an angled jump, he still does it, and, just in the squat format. So I would say that his squat is probably 3,400 pounds. So I wasn't really satisfied with that. I think 3,400, he literally just gets One For All. Sure, he does the, 10 months of training with All Might, but that's really it. He doesn't, this isn't taking into account where he is currently in the anime or manga, so I want to cover a more recent event. So the event I want to use is when Deku's versing Gentle Criminal. He gets crushed by a steel girder, or well, quote unquote crushed. He he's down in a squat, holding it above his head, and then he stands up. So we're going to use this to find out how much he can squat. So first I had to figure out just how much the steel girder was. Because I tried to find it just on its own, how the average steel girder is, and I found this video of this dude just walking up a ladder with a steel girder, and this dude was it probably weighs about 150 pounds. I'm I swear to God, Deku better not be struggling with an 150 pound steel girder. So I think that might have been another material, and it was definitely a lot shorter than what Deku was holding above his head. So I took these two panels and, used them to try to figure out the length, width, the wall in between, really everything a steel girder has to offer in terms of measurements, and then use this website to really find out just how much the steel girder he's carrying is, it weighs. Came out to be 7,700 pounds. So we have those two, measurements to go off of. Now, I guess this does prove that One For All does get stronger the more muscular you are. I think even though I know it's a stockpiling quirk, it probably, chances are it's definitely said in the series that it multiplies your muscles or something like that, but I don't remember, so I guess it's a revelation for me. But, his squat could be a little bit more. He was fighting Gentle Criminal for quite a while here. There could be fatigue into it, stuff like that, but I honestly don't think it'd be that far off. If anything, it might be an 8,000 pound squat, something like that. And also, I mean, this was pretty difficult for him. It wasn't like he sat there and just like pushed it up, that he was like struggling. Now, sure, there's, you know, it's overhead, there could be stability issues, all those different things that are making this harder for him, but I think it's pretty safe to say that his squat is around 8,000 pounds. So after I was done with the whole squat thing, I was sitting there wondering why the hell it was so low, and this is because this whole feat of strength was actually at 20% of one for all. So if we just take 7,700 pounds, multiply it by 5, we get 38,500 pounds. That would be his actual 1 rep max for his squat. So with the squat out of the way, let's get into the bench. Now this was, oh my goodness gracious, you don't understand how hard this was, because I don't like to use, I honestly don't like the whole punching format for finding a bench. I don't think it's a fair assessment. Sure, it's, you know, the muscles are similar and stuff like that, but it's like, I had to really nitpick to find a good situation to find out Deku's bench. I ended up using Deku punching the muscular into a, you know, wall, cave wall, cliff wall, whatever you want to call it. Now, 2 reasons why I think this is a fair assessment is, 1, when he does it, he has a grip on muscular and he, you know, punches, he's not using leg drive, nothing like that. So I think that by him pulling himself towards something and then punching, and also, you know, whatever other muscles he used, his serratus, stuff like that, I think we could cover that for leg drive. For the bench, we wouldn't have to find out, you know, the upper body isolated or anything like that. So totally, I don't know how accurate it is. This dude on Core that I found out how much muscular would weigh just using, like, I think it was a little screenshot. He just took the pixels, you know, find out cubic feet or cubic inches in muscle weight, stuff like that. Found out that he'd weigh about 4,000 pounds. So we're going to be using the same equation as always. Time equals velocity divided by acceleration to find acceleration. So the punch lasts thing. So that 1 second would be the time. And then velocity, by this screenshot or whatever you want to call it, scene, it looks like muscular is probably about, you know, 5-6 meters away from the wall. I don't really have an exact measurement. There's no good scene that really highlights just how far away from the wall he is. So I think 5 to 6 meters is a solid measurement. So by taking that, that'd be about 5 meters per second for the velocity, because we also don't see how fast he flies into it, but I'm just going to guess a second. If it took a second for that could finish the punch, then, you know, I'm satisfied with it being a second for him to travel to the wall. So that'd make the acceleration 5 meters per second squared. So then force equals mass times acceleration, do 4,000 times 5, that comes to 20,000. So then that would be about 4,500 pounds of force, but that is for one arm. Doing that by 2, that'd be 9,000. So then also you could count his bench as 9,000 pounds, but if you wanted to isolate that upper body, I said that I wouldn't, but I guess here we are. If you wanted to isolate that upper body and include leg drive, or say that isolated upper body and include leg drive, I did a bench and found out that I could bench about 85 to 90% of my 1 rep max. So that would make his actual bench about 10,000 pounds. So now that the squat's done, bench is done, let's get into the final lift. And this is, again, really disappointing, but we have to do it anyway. And that's the deadlift. So once again, my hero shows no love for pulling feats of strength with, you know, hamstring, lower back, all this stuff that would be used in a deadlift. So once again, just like we did with All Might, we have to use a total estimate on how much Deku's deadlift actually is. So good old Google proving that you could squat about 90% of your deadlift. That'd mean that Deku could probably deadlift about 42,350 pounds. So am I a little disappointed at the numbers? Maybe, maybe not. I think that Deku's bench should be a lot more. I mean, for his bench to be 10,000 and his squat and deadlift to be like, you know, 30,000 pounds, stuff like that, 30 to 40,000 pounds, I don't think that that's exactly accurate. That'd be like me like benching 185 and then squatting like, you know, 365, deadlifting 465, something like that. That'd be like really weird. But then again, I have seen dudes that like have an insanely heavy squat and deadlift and their bench is just like like it is it is all the way down there. Like it does not scale at all to their squat and deadlift. So honestly, this isn't that far. Deku's genetics could just be more wired towards his legs. So honestly, after the matter of fact, I do want to change my answer to I am fairly satisfied with this. I mean, that just means that Deku probably has to do some stuff with his upper body more, train a lot more, but for him to have such a significantly weaker bench than his squat and deadlift isn't, I guess, too far from the truth. So I am pretty satisfied. So I'll end the video here. You know, about a 10,000 pound bench, about a 30,000 pound squat, and then about a 40,000 pound deadlift. As always, go check out my website, s-classtrain.com. Like I said in the last videos, I have released my Berserker Power Building program, and at this current moment, I am starting to write my actual powerlifting program for just max strength. I'm finishing up the one of my hypertrophy programs right now. I'm rerunning it just because I want to get a little bigger, and then I'm gonna go over and start practicing and testing out this new powerlifting program to see if I could, increase my squat, bench, and deadlift hell of a lot more. But as always, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Bye.